Welcome to Chelder. In this video, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the Ottoman Empire, exploring 30 mind-blowing facts that will transport you back to an era of grandeur, intrigue, and some seriously quirky stories. From the empire's military genius to its love of luxury bathhouses, there's no shortage of surprises. So, grab your fez, sit back, and let's journey through the history of one of the most influential empires the world has ever known. Let's get started. Fact number 1. The Ottomans had one of the longest reigns in history. The Ottoman Empire lasted over 600 years, which is like the empire that just never knew when to clock out. Imagine being around for over 6 centuries, through the rise and fall of other empires, revolutions, and even a few world wars. That's like watching your favorite TV show go on for so long, you forget how it even started. And throughout it all, the Ottomans managed to stay in control of vast lands across Europe, Asia, and Africa. They didn't just rule, they redefined what it meant to be long-lasting, kind of like the Energizer Bunny of empires. Talk about job security. Fact number 2. The Ottomans controlled a vast empire. At its peak, the Ottoman Empire was the ultimate land collector. We're talking about a territory stretching from modern-day Turkey to parts of North Africa, Eastern Europe, and the Arabian Peninsula. It's like the Ottomans were playing Monopoly on an international level. And they were winning. They weren't just sitting on their throne collecting taxes and watching Netflix. They were constantly expanding their empire. They probably had maps pinned up on their walls with "to conquer" stickers for all the lands they didn't already control. And they didn't stop there. When one continent wasn't enough, they expanded into 2 more. Talk about multitasking. Fact number 3. Their military was unstoppable. The Ottoman military was the original squad goals. The Janissaries, their elite soldiers, were so well-trained they made modern armies look like rookies. Their weaponry was cutting edge for the time, their tactics innovative, and their ability to march for miles without breaking a sweat was almost legendary. Imagine an army that could storm cities, scale walls, and march in perfect formation like they were getting ready for a parade, all while managing to look super stylish in their uniforms. Plus, they were known for being fearsome and ruthless, like that friend who always wins at Monopoly by any means necessary. They weren't just fighting battles, they were conquering hearts and lands alike. Fact number 4. The Janissaries were the Ottoman secret weapon. The Janissaries weren't your average soldiers. They were hand-picked, rigorously trained, and came with a no-excuses policy. They started off as Christian boys who were converted to Islam and trained to be the finest warriors in the empire. They were the ultimate cool kids in the Ottoman army. The Janissaries were so skilled, they could fire a bow with the precision of an Olympic archer, and their marching formations were tighter than a Broadway dance number. Seriously, if you were an enemy and you heard the sound of their boots marching in the distance, you knew it was game over. You'd have about as much chance of escaping as a mouse escaping a cat. These guys were practically the superheroes of their time. Fact number 5. The Ottomans were masters of the art of diplomacy. While the Ottoman Empire was known for its fierce military, they also knew when to pull out the diplomacy card. It wasn't all about swords and shields. Sometimes it was about chatting over tea and signing agreements. The Ottomans were experts at making alliances, especially with European powers like France, who were more than happy to team up with the Ottomans when things were looking dicey. It's like they knew how to work the social scene, from hosting the best diplomatic dinners to navigating tricky political situations with the finesse of a skilled negotiator. When the Ottomans didn't want to fight, they could talk their way out of a confrontation better than anyone, probably with a little side of baklava to sweeten the deal. Fact number 6. They had their own version of the imperial couch. Sultans of the Ottoman Empire were, without a doubt, fans of luxury. Their palaces were filled with silks, golden furniture, intricate rugs, and the finest foods from every corner of their empire. Think of it like the Ottoman version of cribs, where everything, from the throne room to the harem, was decked out in the most opulent decor. If you were a sultan, you didn't just sit on any chair. You lounged like royalty on cushions so soft they probably put your bed to shame. This was the empire where comfort and style were key. And if you were living there, you were probably just as concerned with your gold leaf accent walls as you were with world domination. Fact number 7. The Ottomans had a very advanced legal system. The Ottoman legal system wasn't just a bunch of random rules slapped together. It was a sophisticated mix of Islamic and secular laws that helped keep their diverse empire running smoothly. If you thought your high school rulebook was complex, the Ottomans wrote the empire equivalent. One of their most brilliant moves was the millet system, where various religious communities governed themselves according to their own laws. The Ottomans understood that having a diverse population required a legal framework that respected cultural differences, making sure everyone played by the same rules. Unless you were a sultan, in which case, the rules probably didn't apply to you. Fact number 8. They had an epic culinary scene. The Ottoman Empire wasn't just about conquering lands. They were also pioneers in the world of food. They were basically the culinary masters of the ancient world. From the kebabs that are still famous today, to a range of pastries that would make you question every diet you've ever been on, the Ottomans knew how to cook. They didn't just make food, they created feasts. They understood that food was the key to bringing people together, whether it was for a state dinner or just for casual family bonding in the harem. If you've ever had Turkish delight, you can thank the Ottomans for that little piece of sweetness. They understood how to mix culture, flavor, and tradition, one meal at a time. Fact number 9, the Ottomans were the masters of architecture. When it came to architecture, the Ottomans were like the original rock stars. They created monumental buildings, mosques, and palaces that still stand to this day. The famous Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, originally a church and later a mosque, is one of their most iconic creations. They were like the architects of their era, designing structures that made people stop in awe and probably wonder, how did they do that? The Ottomans weren't just throwing up buildings. They were creating lasting legacies with intricate tile work, massive domes, and courtyards that looked like something straight out of a fairy tale. Fact number 10. The Ottomans were very organized. One thing that helped the Ottomans maintain such a massive empire for centuries was their organizational skills. They were like the project managers of the ancient world. Whether it was military campaigns, economic strategies, or managing the daily tasks of governing an empire, the Ottomans had systems in place that helped them stay on top. They had an efficient bureaucracy, a well-maintained postal system, and military regiments that were so well-organized that they made other empires look like they were winging it. If you've ever seen a well-planned city, just know it was the Ottomans who probably invented that. Fact number 11. The Ottomans loved their coffee. Doubt if you think you love coffee, the Ottomans would give you a run for your money. The Ottoman Empire was practically the birthplace of the coffee culture we know today. In fact, they didn't just drink coffee, they made it an art form. Ottoman coffee houses were the place to be for intellectuals, poets, and anyone who wanted to have a good conversation over a steaming cup of Turkish coffee. It was so important that it became part of the culture, with special rules for making the perfect cup from the grind to the brewing method. In fact, if you didn't make coffee right, you might get kicked out of an Ottoman coffee house. Talk about high standards. And just in case you're wondering, Turkish coffee is strong enough to wake up the entire empire. Fact number 12. The Ottomans had a cool sultan name game. The sultans of the Ottoman Empire weren't just famous for their grand palaces and military conquests. They were also known for having some pretty incredible names. Each sultan had an official name, but some of them had titles that were downright epic. Take Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, for example. I mean, if your title includes the word magnificent, you know you're doing something right. And it wasn't just him. Each sultan had a nickname that conveyed their status and power. This tradition wasn't just about blowing your own trumpet, either. It was a way of making sure the entire empire knew you were the real deal, and that your ego was as big as the empire itself. Fact number 13. The Ottomans created the most luxurious palaces. When it came to palaces, the Ottomans didn't just build a place to sleep. They built entire mini-cities with grand halls, private gardens, and opulent furniture. The Topkapi Palace in Istanbul was a prime example of Ottoman luxury. It had everything from the famous harem, a secluded area for the Sultan and his family, to kitchens that could feed an army, literally. The Ottomans knew how to treat their rulers, with everything from gold-plated everything to jewels the size of your head. They weren't just building palaces. They were building personal empires of comfort. Every corner of their palaces was carefully designed to make the Sultan feel like royalty. Because, well, he was... Fact number 14. The Ottomans were masters of trade. The Ottoman Empire didn't just rely on conquering lands to keep their economy thriving. They were also incredible traders. They controlled key trade routes between Europe and Asia, which meant they were pretty much the middlemen of the ancient world. The Ottomans capitalized on this, making them the perfect hub for all kinds of goods, from spices to silks to exotic animals. If you wanted to get anything from the east to the west, or vice versa, the Ottomans were your go-to. It was like they had a VIP pass to the trade game, and they knew how to leverage it. The spice trade alone made them a fortune, and they turned their empire into a bustling marketplace where everything was available. And if you didn't have it, you could bet the Ottomans would get it for you. Fact number 15. The Ottomans were some of the first to use firearms. When the Ottomans weren't marching in perfect formation, they were busy revolutionizing military technology. They were some of the first to introduce firearms to their armies, and they didn't just use them, they perfected them. The Ottomans were pioneers in using gunpowder in warfare, and they brought cannons and muskets to the battlefield, which made them a force to be reckoned with. These powerful weapons helped them take down city walls and crush their enemies with unmatched firepower. If you were an enemy of the Ottomans, you knew that if they showed up with cannons, you were in big trouble. It was like having the most advanced tech at your disposal and knowing exactly how to use it. Fact number 16. The Ottomans had a thing for beautiful rugs. One thing the Ottomans definitely didn't skimp on was the art of rug making. Ottoman rugs are world-renowned for their beauty, intricate designs, and luxury. They weren't just floor coverings. They were works of art. The Ottomans were so good at making rugs that their designs became famous all over the world, and they were even considered a symbol of wealth. These rugs were so valuable that owning one could elevate your social status. If you had a room full of Ottoman rugs, you were practically royalty. They were like the luxury cars of the time, only more colorful and much better for your floors. Fact number 17. The Ottomans loved their festivals. Ottomans knew how to party, seriously. They were masters at hosting grand festivals and celebrations that would make modern-day New Year's Eve look like a quiet dinner at home. These festivals were huge social events with food, music, dance, and public displays of strength and skill. One of the most famous was the Mevlev-i-Sema, where Sufi mystics spun around in mesmerizing circles to enter a trance. It was both a spiritual practice and a public spectacle. Talk about having your cake and eating it too. Spiritual enlightenment and a great show all in one event. If you were lucky enough to be invited, you'd leave with your head spinning, literally and figuratively. Fact number 18. The Ottomans were great at bureaucracy. Ottoman Empire? More like the Ottoman Organization Incorporated. They weren't just about military conquests and fancy palaces. They were also experts in bureaucracy. The Ottoman system was a well-oiled machine, with a complex but efficient structure that ensured everything from taxes to land ownership was organized. They had an entire system for everything, including appointing governors to oversee regions and handling legal matters with precision. It's like they were the original organizational wizards of the ancient world. If you think keeping track of your calendar is tough, imagine trying to manage a massive empire with 1,000 moving parts. The Ottomans had it all under control. Fact number 19. The Ottomans had a super efficient postal system. The Ottoman postal system wasn't just fast, it was lightning fast for its time. They set up a network of couriers and messengers who could travel across vast distances in record time. It's like the ancient version of express mail. This system helped keep the empire connected, whether it was sending military orders, trade information, or just personal messages between the Sultan and his subjects. They even had special postal stations set up along major routes, with horses ready to carry messages across the empire. It was like a super secret, ancient version of the express post, and it helped the Ottomans stay ahead of the game in both communication and administration. Fact number 20. The Ottomans loved their art. Ottoman art wasn't just about decoration, it was about storytelling. Whether it was intricate calligraphy, beautifully designed pottery, or ornate architecture, the Ottomans knew how to turn their empire into a living art gallery. They didn't just create for the sake of creating. Their art had meaning, telling stories of religion, culture, and power. It was their way of marking history, creating a legacy that would stand the test of time. You could find art in every corner of the empire, from the walls of their palaces to the tiles in their mosques. Every brushstroke, every curve in the design was a reflection of their grand legacy. They didn't just create art. They created timeless treasures that people still admire today. Fact number 21. The Ottomans loved their baths. Who doesn't love a good bath? But the Ottomans took it to the next level. They built huge, elaborate bathhouses called hammams all across the empire where people could get a thorough scrub and socialize at the same time. These bathhouses were not just places to wash up. They were social hubs where you could catch up on gossip, relax, and maybe even get a little pampered. The Ottomans had a unique bathing ritual that involved steaming, scrubbing, and massaging. It was a blend of relaxation and hygiene, and it was a popular way to unwind after a long day of conquering territories. Some bathhouses even had fountains, pools, and marble columns to make sure you felt like royalty while you relaxed. So, yeah, the Ottomans definitely knew how to turn bath time into a luxurious event. Fact number 22. The Ottomans had some serious battle tactics. When the Ottomans went to war, they weren't just charging in blindly. They were well known for their brilliant military tactics. They were one of the first to use elite forces like the Janissaries, an army of highly trained soldiers who were often picked from Christian families and converted to Islam. These soldiers were the backbone of the Ottoman military and were known for their discipline and effectiveness in battle. The Ottomans also used artillery, particularly massive cannons, to destroy fortresses and walls. Talk about bringing out the big guns. Their ability to strategize and coordinate attacks made them a military powerhouse, and they often relied on clever deception and psychological warfare to keep their enemies on edge. Fact number 23. The Ottomans were skilled architects. The Ottomans weren't just great warriors. They were also talented architects. They built stunning mosques, palaces, and public buildings that still stand today as testaments to their architectural prowess. One of the most famous examples is the Blue Mosque in Istanbul, with its grand domes and impressive minarets. The Ottomans were masters of combining Islamic design with their own flair for grandeur, creating some of the most recognizable and awe-inspiring structures in the world. They used advanced engineering techniques to build these architectural wonders, and their buildings often included intricate tile work, calligraphy, and stunning mosaics that were as much about beauty as they were about functionality. It's no wonder their buildings are still admired centuries later. Fact number 24. The Ottomans loved their spices, that it's not just about the food. The Ottomans were spice connoisseurs. Spices were the secret ingredient that helped make Ottoman cuisine so rich and flavorful. They didn't just use spices in their cooking. They considered spices a sign of wealth and luxury. Spices like saffron, cinnamon, and cumin were so highly valued that they were traded like treasures. The Ottomans had a whole spice trade network that stretched from the east to the west, ensuring that the finest flavors made their way into the empire's kitchens. It wasn't uncommon for Ottoman chefs to get creative with their spice mixes, blending flavors in ways that were ahead of their time. If you had a meal at an Ottoman palace, you knew you'd be in for a culinary adventure, because nothing says royalty like a pinch of saffron in your stew. Fact number 25. The Ottomans were pioneers in medicine. While the rest of the world was still figuring out basic medicine, the Ottomans were busy advancing healthcare. Ottoman doctors made significant contributions to medical science, particularly in the areas of surgery and pharmacology. The Ottomans established hospitals, some of which were so advanced for their time that they included specialized rooms for patients suffering from different ailments. They were one of the first empires to establish a medical system that included hospitals, pharmacies, and trained doctors who practiced medicine based on scientific methods. The Ottomans also pioneered the use of surgical instruments that were incredibly precise for the era. So, while other empires were still using leeches for treatments, the Ottomans were performing life-saving surgeries with actual tools. Fact number 26. The Ottomans were major fans of horticulture, that it's not just about conquering lands and making lavish palaces. The Ottomans were serious about their gardens. Ottoman sultans loved their horticulture and made sure that their palaces were surrounded by lush, well-maintained gardens. These gardens were not just for show. They were symbols of paradise on earth. They often included fountains, pools, and pavilions, providing a tranquil space to relax and escape the pressures of ruling an empire. The Ottomans were also instrumental in introducing new plant species to their gardens, including roses, tulips, and other exotic flowers. In fact, the tulip became so associated with the Ottomans that it was often called the Ottoman flower. So, next time you see a tulip, just remember, you're looking at a symbol of Ottoman opulence. Fact number 27. The Ottomans had their own fashion trends. The Ottomans knew how to dress to impress. The sultans and their courts were decked out in luxurious clothing made from the finest silks, velvet, and cotton. Their fashion wasn't just for aesthetic purposes. It was a way to show off their wealth and status. Ottoman sultans often wore elaborate robes, adorned with gold and silver thread, and their hats, called fezzes, became iconic. Even the colors of their clothing had meaning, with specific colors reserved for different ranks within the empire. It wasn't just the sultans and nobles who got to have all the fun. Ottoman fashion trickled down to the common folk, with many people wearing colorful tunics and dresses. The Ottomans had an entire culture dedicated to looking good, and it wasn't just about luxury, it was about making a statement. Fact number 28. The Ottomans had a rich literary tradition. The Ottomans were no strangers to the written word. They had a vibrant literary culture that included poetry, stories, and philosophy. The famous poet Yunus Emre, for example, was one of the most beloved figures in Ottoman literature, known for his spiritual poetry that transcended religious boundaries. The Ottomans also had a rich tradition of storytelling, with tales of heroism, love, and adventure passed down through generations. Ottoman scholars translated many works from Arabic, Persian, and Greek into Turkish, preserving the intellectual knowledge of the time. And let's not forget the sultans themselves. Many were patrons of the arts and literature, often commissioning poets and writers to create works that glorified their reigns. The Ottoman literary scene wasn't just about reading. It was a full-blown cultural movement that shaped the empire's intellectual landscape. Fact number 29. The Ottomans were masters of diplomacy. While they were known for their military prowess, the Ottomans also had a knack for diplomacy. They knew how to play the political game, negotiating treaties and alliances with other empires to strengthen their own position. The Ottomans were especially skilled in maintaining a delicate balance of power between Europe and Asia, navigating complex relationships with other major empires like the Safavids, Russians, and even the Austro-Hungarians. They also used strategic marriages to cement political alliances. It was like the Ottomans had a PhD in geopolitics. If only there had been a university for it back then. Thanks to their diplomatic skills, the Ottomans were able to maintain their empire for centuries, keeping potential threats at bay with a combination of military strength and political savvy. Fact number 30. The Ottomans loved their animals. The Ottomans didn't just conquer land and build palaces. They also had a fondness for animals. The sultans often kept exotic animals as pets, and their palaces were home to all sorts of creatures. The most famous of these was the sultan's prized elephant, which was a symbol of wealth and power. But it wasn't just elephants. Ottoman sultans also had lions, monkeys, and even cheetahs. These animals were often kept for entertainment, and the royal court would show them off at lavish events. Imagine having an elephant as your pet. The Ottomans treated their animals with great care, providing them with lavish accommodations and ensuring they had the best food. It was like having an entire zoo right inside your palace. And there you have it. 30 incredible facts about the Ottoman Empire that you probably didn't know. From their epic military tactics to their extraordinary love for luxury, the Ottomans left a legacy that still fascinates us today. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Chelder for more fascinating facts and stories from the past. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the world's most amazing histories.